Hello everyone, welcome back to the Budget Sportsman. Thank you so much for joining me on today's video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the X2 climbing sticks from XOP. And before I get into the video, I do want to give you my disclaimer and say a big thank you to XOP because they did send me these sticks for free so that I can make a review on the channel. So thank you XOP, and for all of you viewers, I do want to be honest that they sent these to me for free, but I'm also going to give you my honest review of these sticks. Now, since these sticks were announced and officially released, I feel like they've generated a decent amount of buzz and conversation on the internet. I think the reason for that is, well, they come in at a very interesting price point and weight. So an interesting sort of weight to price ratio. Now, you know, if you've ever shopped for climbing sticks, that usually very lightweight sticks are very expensive. And on the other hand, very inexpensive sticks are usually very heavy. And for a while, I don't feel like there was a whole lot in the middle of the road. And I feel like the X2 climbing stick is sort of that middle of the road. It is not an ultralight 1 pound stick, but it does come in under 2 pounds. I'll give you the exact weight in a moment. And it sells for $180 for a 4-pack. Now that's fairly affordable for a stick that's this light. Now, when it was first released, I thought I saw somewhere that one of the XOP employees said that it was going to weigh around 1.5 pounds. As of now, on their website, this is advertised as being 26 ounces, which is closer to like 1.6-ish pounds. On my scales, I get 1.7 pounds or 27 ounces. Now keep in mind, that's without the included cam buckle strap. That is just the base stick. With the included cam buckle strap, on my scales, I'm all the way up to 33 ounces, or that's about 2 pounds and 1 ounce. Now, still, that's a pretty reasonable weight and a reasonable price for a 4-pack. I think that's pretty good. Now, the stick that I think might be the closest competition as far as that weight to price category would be the tethered Skeletor sticks. And the tethered Skeletor sticks come in at $225 for a 4-pack, and they weigh just a hair over 2 pounds each with their included AmSteel attachment method. So this stick here with a cam buckle strap weighs maybe a half an ounce to an ounce more than a tethered Skeletor stick, but comes in at least $45 less expensive. Now here's the other thing. Most of us who are interested in lightweight climbing methods are probably going to ditch that cam buckle strap and go to something that's maybe AmSteel or some other lightweight attachment method where you're going to probably drop at least 3 ounces off of that weight, maybe even 4 ounces off the weight of that cam buckle strap. I tried an AmSteel ultimate stick attachment method on this stick, and it brought me right to 30 ounces, which gives me about 2 to 3 ounces less than a Skeletor stick for $45 less. So I think that's the reason why this stick has generated quite a bit of buzz, because it is pretty lightweight at a very reasonable price point. Now, the second reason that I think the X2 sticks generated a good bit of attention is because of the generous amount of foot space that you get with these sticks. XOP chose to use a very long standoff here, giving you a very generous amount of foot room. Now, me personally, if I was trying to design a budget-friendly stick that was relatively lightweight, I think I probably would have cut maybe a half an inch or an inch off of this standoff, giving you slightly less foot room, but saving a little bit of weight, maybe even saving some manufacturing costs. So the fact that they're able to do this on a relatively lightweight and budget-friendly stick is impressive. If I measure from the front edge of the step to the very back point of the standoff, it's exactly 5 inches. Now, on the other hand, if I measure over here on the tree where the tree's curving back away from the standoff, I can get 6 1/4 to almost 6 1/2 inches, depending on how I measure over here, away from the tree. Now, you're not going to get that quite that much in the middle here where the tree's curving in toward the stick. Now, the other thing to point out about this step is that you have just shy of 9 1/2, a solid 9 3/8 inches across here. So not only do you have a step that sticks out from the tree quite a bit, you also have a very wide step, and that makes for a very comfortable and stable platform. I can get my feet well under the arches of my feet. In fact, if I angle my feet out a little bit, I can even get in onto my heels. Now, earlier in the video, I mentioned that I thought one of the X2's closest competitors would be the tethered Skeletor stick. And one of the reasons I say that is because that the Skeletor is also advertised as having very generous foot room. And what's very interesting to note here is that the tethered Skeletor has an angled step. And so they don't use a really long standoff. You can see here that the post is much closer to the tree than on the X2 stick. However, because they have that angled step, their outer point of this step is pretty much as far out from the tree as the X2 stick. The difference is with the X2, you get a straight stick all the way across, or a straight step all the way across, that's pretty much an equal distance from the tree. Now, I love my tethered Skeletor sticks. I used them all last season. However, one thing I noticed is that in order to sort of feel like you've got a lot of foot room, you do have to angle your feet out and get your toes out around the side of the tree. Now, while you can do that on the X2 stick, because you've got this straight step all the way across, I feel like you actually have the feeling of having a little bit more foot room, even if your feet are straight into the tree. All right, so let's talk about the way these sticks actually stack together for transportation. Each one of them has what's called the slide lock technology, if I remember correctly, I think that's what it's called. And it's this plastic clip on here. And there's a couple of different ways that you can actually lock these sticks together. So the first one would be take one stick, take a second stick and flip it upside down. So you've got one clip at the top, one clip at the bottom. And the way I'm doing it is I'm putting the flat part of the steps together and then just squeezing this thing together into the clip so that the post clips into the snap of the next one, and there you go. Now that is very secure. I might even be willing to say a little bit too secure. I found them a little bit difficult to get apart. Now, I really like the way that stacks though. They're very secure, very stable. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to fall apart. My complaint with that system, however, is if you want to add a third stick, you can do it. And again, the whole slide thing, these plastic things can slide around and move around where you need them to go. But let's just say that now I'm going to put this one on here. I've got to figure out how to get this step down far enough. And then, all right, there it is. There's 3 snaps together, but you start extending further and further down. And your next set is going to be even a little bit further down than this one. So I think this is best used if you're going to carry 2 individual packs of 2 sticks. So 2 sticks on one side of your pack and 2 on the other side. But the other way that you can do this, and there it is, okay, it wasn't too hard to pull apart. Let me get this one. Yeah, and see now that one, there we go, got it. A little bit tight. Now the other way you can do this is you can stack it pretty much like what I would say the more traditional way to stack sticks, which is on top of each other. And you slide them on like that. Now, initially I thought, well, that's pretty cool, I like that better, I'll just use a strap and go around it. Then I realized what the whole slide lock technology is. You take this black slider right here, you slide it down, and I don't know if you can see that, but it catches on the Versa button of the next stick behind it. And now, in this formation, you still have a very secure setup. Put the next one on there, slide the black clip down into place, and now I've got 3 very securely set up. And of course, you can do the 4th one, no problem. I typically hunt with a pack of 3. Now that, personally, to me, would be the way that I would probably do it. I really prefer the ease of on and off. I prefer that I can get 3 or 4 in a pack together. And just for the way that I prefer to carry my sticks in my backpack, I think this would be the better system for me. Now, the other thing that I thought of is if you wanted to, you could take the top step and the standoff off, take the bolt out, take them off, and actually slide these plastic pieces off if you didn't want to mess with them at all. And you just wanted to stack them together some way or strap them to your backpack without any clips to hold them together. My guess is the weight savings that you're going to gain by taking those off is negligible, and you're probably going to gain that back in some sort of another strap that you're going to use to hold these all together. So personally, I actually really like this slide lock technology in the vertical stacking configuration rather than the side-by-side configuration. All right, now something else that I wanted to point out about the X2 sticks is that they're advertised as being aider ready. I think that's kind of true, but I think it's going to depend on what kind of aider that you use. What you have is a big gap here, which I think would put an aider pretty close to the center, probably too close for what you would want. Then a couple of slots here, as well as 2 pre-drilled holes. These holes seem like they would be probably great if you were going to do something like a bolted on cable aider. These slots here are pretty good for one of my favorite aiders, which is a webbing aider from Custom Gear Modification. And you got to wiggle it through just a little bit, but those slots are just about perfect if you want to do a webbing aider. So there are a couple of options for aiders. You know, the kind of amsteel aider that I've created in the past for some of my other sticks, I normally girth hitch, which would be pretty difficult to do on here. So it might just take a little bit of ingenuity, but there are at least a couple of different options on here for how to attach your aiders. So one of my biggest complaints with the X2 sticks is that for me, this is a fairly bulky system for the way that I like to carry it in my backpack. Now, a lot of you are going to carry it a different way, or you're going to disagree with my conclusion altogether. Hear me out. Ever since I started saddle hunting, I've been using sticks as my primary mobile run and gun setup sticks that have a folding step. I started with the Hawk sticks, and then I also added in the tethered skeleton sticks, and both of those have a folding step. So for me, when I would stack my sticks, yes, it was long in this configuration right here, but when you turn it like this, all of the steps are folded up and it's not much wider than your standoff. So for me, it's just a bit wider and bulkier than what I'm used to. However, I really don't fault XOP for making the stick this way. I think it's the trade-off that you make for having a budget-friendly and pretty lightweight stick in this kind of a package. It's very stable platform. There's no extra parts, no moving pieces. It's a fairly simple design, and I think that's probably how they're able to keep the price where it is. So overall, do I think it's a deal breaker? Absolutely not. I think these are very solid, very comfortable sticks to use, but I'm just going to have to figure out a little bit different way of carrying them on my backpack than what I'm used to. All right, so I think this about wraps up my review of the X2 climbing sticks. So what are my final conclusions? Well, I think if you're a guy who's on a really tight budget, and by that I mean you really just can't afford to spend much on your climbing sticks, then there may be some other sticks on the market that, not many, but a few, that would still get the job done and still be relatively lightweight to use in a mobile hunting situation. On the other hand, if you've got a lot of expendable income, there are some sticks on the market that are over $100 a piece and they're super lightweight, you know, 1 pound, or we're even getting now to the point where we're getting close to being sub 1 pound. Those might be right for you if that's what your thing is. Personally, I think XOP with their X2 climbing sticks has really narrowed down a really happy middle of the road point here, where you're paying $180 for a 4-pack of sticks, not the cheapest sticks on the market, but really pretty affordable in comparison to many of the other options on the market today. And being that price and still being 1.7 pounds each without a cam buckle strap, you're in a pretty happy place there. Now, there is one thing that I want to point out to you. Most of us will want to ditch that cam buckle strap for something else. And so when you're factoring this price versus maybe another stick that includes an AM steel attachment method, it's important to calculate how much you're going to spend to replace those cam buckle straps with something else to get a fair side-by-side price comparison and figure out what is right for you. But all of that said, I still think that the X2 sticks are a really happy medium. They're great value for a guy who's willing to spend a little bit more to get really good quality and a really nice stick, but isn't quite willing to pay the premium of those super ultralight high-end sticks. Overall, it's a big thumbs up for me from the X2 climbing sticks. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think of them down below, and until next time, remember to get off YouTube and get outdoors into God's great creation.